Welcome to the Hindu editorial discussion. This is Ryan Pinto who's going to discuss with you or bringing to you the presentation on the Hindu editorial discussion of November the 10th. So, what are we going to discuss today? So, we have two important topics that we are going to discuss. The first one being India US relationship, impact of Joe Biden on the relationship. So, we have President elect Joe Biden who is going to take the position of the president and sworn in the month of January. For now, he has won the elections, but there is some discrepancies which Donald Trump has gone to the courts. Second is we are going to see on no fireworks and link it with air pollution. The third thing that we are going to discuss is Vietnam and Bangladesh, uh, how they have risen economically and what India can learn. That is an important editorial which I have taken it in a separate manner in the same today's presentation. First to speak about Joe Biden, who is the president elect, and Kamala Harris, who is a person of Indian origin. Kamala Harris is going to be the vice president, and Joe Biden is going to be the president. They are going to be sworn in the month of January. What we are going to discuss is how will it impact India's relationship with United States, how it is going to impact the India's world scenario. That is what we are going to discuss. The real significance of the Biden win. So its impact on ties with New Delhi. So we are going to see its impact on ties with New Delhi. Apart, it is more about whether it can re energize India's democratic values. So, more than what we can get, how the relationship will be, it's more about re energizing India's democratic values. Joe Biden had already we have discussed it earlier. He has shown or he has said or promised about good relationship with India when he was the vice president during Barack Obama years. He was a strong votary of good relationship with India. So he's already come to India and he has good relationship with the leaders here. So you have to remember that. Most commentators are saying that there will be little change. There will not be much change. And yes, it is true. There will not be much change between India's and US's relationship because we both need each other. But there will be slight differences. They might be marginally beneficial. India will remain a potential ally in a troubled neighborhood. Defense and counter-terrorism cooperation will continue as with trade negotiations, and there will be great potential for cooperation on climate change. So the three areas or the areas that India and United States will come together is defense and counter-terrorism, trade and climate change. They are also right in saying that there will be no more free passes for Narendra Modi administration on human rights. So one problem area will be on human rights, especially in the CAA matter and Jammu and Kashmir. In particularly the targeting of Muslims, Islam, the Jammu and Kashmir, and right to in saying that while Biden presidency will raise these issues with the Indian counterparts. Okay, so targeting of Muslims and Kashmiris and human rights, all these are going to be small issues which will not make much of a difference. But yes, there will be some thorns in the relationship between the two countries. This is what the experts say. Do you think, or was it that India and United States relationship was at the best during Donald Trump that we are so skeptical about what India and USA relationship will be during the time of Biden? Answer is no. The relationship was very high or to the peak during the Barack Obama and Dr. Manmohan Singh years. US India ties did not strengthen under the Modi Trump administration. Mr. Trump weakened the US ties with most of the countries, and India was not an exception. A lot of issues were there between India and United States when Trump was the president. The only moment at which United States India ties really did display strength was during the Singh Obama administration. At that moment, India was no longer a potential ally, it was an ally. The first breakthrough came during the Clinton Vajpayee years. So we have seen when we had tested the second nuclear bomb or the second nuclear test in 98 99. After that, there was some tussle between India and United States. United States had put some sanctions over us and we were not in good terms. But then during Clinton and Vajpayee years, it revived. They started getting to know each other, and later during Obama and Dr. Manmohan Singh years, it flourished. And then it was taken over during Narendra Modi and Donald Trump. Manmohan Singh's willingness to stake his entire political capital on United States India civil nuclear agreement made United States policymakers sit up. This is a very important milestone. Dr. Manmohan Singh even put his government on stake. If you remember, the Communist Party had challenged the government and they had left the government. But Dr. Manmohan Singh did not shake. He wanted US India's civil nuclear agreement to go through smoothly. And yes, it was rightly so that we can get energy with focus on ecology. But the timing was off. The Bush administration depended on Pakistan cooperation for its war in Afghanistan, and India's importance was mostly a lever to pressure Pakistan. The chief progress was in trade, and it was considerable with United States India trade hitting close to $40 billion. As so at that time, there was a tilt towards Pakistan due to strategic reasons, due geopolitical reasons, and that is why India and United States, though were good friends, but United States gave more preference to Pakistan, and India was used to pressure Pakistan. But in the trade front, we went to trading that is up to $40 billion. It was only when Mr. Obama was elected president in 2009 with Mr. Biden as vice president that the ties truly deepened. So, as just we said, during the Dr. Manmohan Singh and Obama years, it was at its peak. What were the points or what were the things which says that the relationship was good? 2009 and 14 US India trade supported was nearly doubled. US agreed on strategic partnership with India. So just remember, trade was going well, strategic partnership started, supported India for permanent membership in United Nations Security Council and Nuclear Suppliers Group, helped it become member of the East Asia Summit, promoted Indian engagement in Afghanistan and to open to Central Asia, encouraged European Union to engage more closely with India, and strengthen military to military ties in the Indo-Pacific region. See how important the Obama Manmohan Singh relationship during the Obama Manmohan Singh India US relationship was. So you have to remember the trade increased, strategic partnership, permanent membership of United Nations Security Council was asked for, even the NSG, East Asia Summit, Afghanistan and Central Asia, European Union came close or were asked to come close to India, and military to military ties. While the US will continue such important symbolic gestures like joint exercises, few US strategists see India as a major security asset in Asia. So today also the relationship will not be that bad because for United States, India is a key or important security asset. Even trade, though it continued at low between 2014 and 19, grew at a slower rate than the preceding 5 years, but it grew. So you must remember, not much changes will be seen. Values are very, very important. A time of value sharing. What India and United States, more than trade, military, geostrategy, membership, etc., more than that, what we share is the values. So you must understand what happened during the Vajpayee period, Clinton and Vajpayee. Then we have George Bush and Dr. Manmohan Singh. Then the period becoming much more better during Obama and Dr. Manmohan Singh. And then we have Narendra Modi and Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden and Narendra Modi. Indeed, they matter so much that when two countries share common values, the benefit accrue to ordinary citizens. So the value sharing is very important. But there is a small issue of rights and a message. Clearly, Biden and Modi administrations will not share common values. So there are some differences in this. While this gap may not directly impact United States India ties, it will surely do so indirectly. Biden has given a list of priorities initially, which will be COVID-19, healing domestic divides. So they have the immigrants and the citizens, and then they have the blacks and the whites. All these issues are there. So healing the divides, reviving the US economy, repairing ties with Europe, evolving calibrated China policy, rejoining multilateral initiatives such as on climate change, reinstating the Obama era Iran policy, and furthering peacemaking in Afghanistan. So, in these areas, Donald Trump had created a lot of issues. So, the Modi administration has some time to put its house in at least token order on human rights. At a time when COVID-19 pandemic has driven so many economies inwards and virtually devastated, a US India business as usual approach will not help. We need countries that will actively work with us to revive our economy, even if their own benefit is less than ours. So we will need United States so that they can help us grow because of the economic impact of COVID-19. So just remember what we have seen. We saw what is India's and United States relationship. We saw some history. Then we saw what are some thorns in between our relationship. Will it affect after Biden coming into power? And what we need to do so that India United States relationship becomes better. A last takeaway, it should give our opposition leaders inspiration that the Biden Harris message of healing, civility, and responsibility instantly struck a chord. So we had on one side who was Donald Trump, was very divisive. On the other side, Biden and Harris, who were talking about healing, civility, responsibility. This is what struck or influenced the voters to vote for. They too can refuse to sink to the era of demonization, as Mr. Biden put it, no matter how much our hate filled trolls try to draw them in. So, the era of demonization should be thrown off, not only in United States but also in India. Demonizing a community, a section of society, not proper. Our judiciary and media can draw their lessons from United States example, where so many state level courts and national media fought back against Donald Trump's attempts to cow them. They paved the way for this election result. So we are seeing how the society played a role, how various institutions played a role to stand against the onslaught of Donald Trump and his ideas and ideology. In addition to Israel and Saudi Arabia, Indian leaders also may miss Mr. Trump. If Mr. Biden adopts a more conciliatory approach towards China, we may find ourselves in a difficult situation. We now need to even mend our relationship with China, because if United States and China come close to each other, we will find ourselves isolated. Since the US, under whatever presidency, will strictly follow its interest and may stage a somersault, we will be left alone in our confrontation with China. Invoking foreign threats with tough rhetoric might help domestically. So, in the article, it was also written that the advisor to Indira Gandhi had said that the issue of Pakistan needs to be kept alive, because it helps domestically, but it hurts internationally. Secondly, we can't have two fronts. On one side, we can't have Pakistan and then China, which will be very dangerous. Public opinion, which has been worked up against China, may make it difficult to do so immediately, but the government is efficient in managing and molding public opinion. So, we saw what is the relationship we need to keep and what we need to be aware of in the case of China. Let's see how Iran will be handled. This is a good news for us. Why we say it is a good news? I'll just tell you. As for Iran, the other issue where Biden's policy will be of great interest to us, it may be difficult for Biden to quickly reverse Mr. Trump's policy. We should hope that he will not maintain the harsh unilateral sanction. We may be, if we don't, so Biden will have a conciliatory message to Iran, which will help us to buy Iranian oil and have good relationship with Iran and help our trade and economy, sell our pharma and other goods to that country. The government may also feel less constrained in investing in oil and other infrastructure projects in Iran, including the rail project, which Indian Railways Construction Limited has been interested in, which Iran had recently taken up by itself. The government need not feel disappointed at Mr. Trump's defeat. After all, he too was not all that sentimental about India. He did threaten us with consequences if we did not give uh, hydroxychloroquine pills to America. So Donald Trump has been very blatant. Even during his presidentship, there was, when the debates were going on for the election of the presidentship, he blamed India of having been one of the most polluted countries, and having said many things about our high tariffs, etc. So this is not what we will expect from Joe Biden. Under Biden, unfurling India's foreign policy concerns. So, what are the concerns? So, we have seen the positive points and something about the human rights. What are the concerns? After good ties with Trump, New Delhi must track how the new administration deals with China and Iran. So, China and Iran is going to be very crucial for us. Mr. Trump's only achievement was in foreign policy, where the agreements on the establishment of diplomatic relation that he negotiated between Israel and couple of the Gulf states. So his United during Donald Trump's regime, you can say presidentship, United States relationship was bad with most of the countries, including India. But two places it was good. One is Israel and some of the Gulf countries. The Saudis will too miss him, perhaps not as much as Netanyahu, who is the president of Israel. They had in Mr. Trump someone who hated Iran. The Saudis and Mr. Netanyahu cannot be sure what policy President elect Joe Biden will adopt on the questions of West Asia peace plans and nuclear deal with Iran, the joint comprehensive plan of action. Okay, so we all should know in West Asia there are three powers which are important. One is one is the Saudis, that is the Saudi Arabia. Second is Israel. Third is Iran. Donald Trump was considered good for Saudi Arabia because, in case of, so Donald Trump was considered good for Saudi Arabia as well as Israel because Donald Trump made enmity with Iran. But now we do not know what is the case with Joe Biden. For us in India, there are two foreign policy issues which are of great concern: China and Iran. In the Trump years, India got a pretty close embrace with United States. It signed all the foundational agreements with America. So we have seen BECA was signed and LEMOA was signed, COMCASA was signed. So all these were there. India also became the part of a quad in an anti-China coalition. How far it can be successful in containing the dragon remains to be seen. The quad will have to be institutionalized, expanded by adding additional members such as Taiwan and South Korea. As the External Affairs Minister has stated, India will not join any military alliance. So they are saying the quad needs to be expanded and it should be completely looking like anti China, which can be dangerous for India. Jawaharlal Nehru, the architect of non alignment, asked the Americans for help. So, was it the first time that Americans are helping us? No, it was earlier also. During the, during the war with China in 1962, there is nothing wrong per se in asking for support to protect our territorial integrity, although it is evident that all these initiatives, such as the Quad, are maritime agreements and do not have much bearing on our dispute with China, which is continental in nature. Now, when we said that Becca and Comcasa and Lemoa will help, there are some issues. Becca, for example, the satellite imagery which the US may provide in terms of latest agreement concluded with United States, that is basic exchange and cooperation agreement for geospatial cooperation, might be useful, but it does not negate the premise that no external power would want to get involved on our side in case major hostilities with China. So things like Becca, things like Quad, things like the other things, Comcasa, Lemoa, they are only going to help us in uh, in challenging China in a limited way. But if there are major hostilities, none of these countries will come for our help. That is what the writer is saying. So, this is about Joe Biden, what India needs to do, and where we need to focus on, and what we can expect in the future. Another important article is firecrackers and its connection with air pollution. So recently, what the Supreme Court has or the NGT has done is it has banned firecrackers um, in anti-pollution measures. The NGT has prohibited the sale and use of firecrackers during Deepavali in the NCR, National Capital Region of Delhi, in urban centers that recorded poor or worse air quality. So it has prohibited the sale and use of firecrackers, the NGT, National Green Tribunal. Some concession to the cities and towns that have moderate or better air quality by allowing green crackers and specified hours for bursting. So if in the NCR it is completely banned because of very high air pollution, where the air pollution is little better, they have allowed for green crackers and a specified hours for bursting, like Haryana for 2 hours. These stipulations are to extend to Christmas and New Year. The tribunal's reasoning giving primacy to the precautionary principle in sustainable development over employment and revenue losses is understandable. So, the tribunal has given more focus on sustainable development rather than employment, because whenever the cracker issue comes, the first thing when the ban on crackers is said, the first thing it is negated with is by bringing the point of employment, saying that many people will lose jobs, etc. But NGT has given more focus on ecology, sustainable development. As the impact of COVID 19 becomes clear in March and there were fears of case surge during winter, it was incumbent on the center to work with the states and prevent the burning of farm stubble ahead of the Deepavali. So we had the burning of the farm stubble. We had the danger of the firecrackers and pollution, etc., all leading to deaths with COVID-19 in the NCR region. So this was a very dangerous situation, which somehow the center and the states have been able to curb. Only damage control is possible now, including steps to address the concerns of the fireworks industry. So this is about the National Green Tribunal and its decision on banning the sale and use of fireworks. There is a National Clean Air Program which seeks to reduce the particulate matter pollution by 20% to 30% by 2024. So just remember National Clean Air Program, particulate matter by 20 to 30% by 2024, with 40% of all pollution linked deaths attributed to bad air quality in leading emerging economies, and some evidence from the United States on higher COVID-19 mortality in highly polluted areas. So just remember, out of the out of 100% pollution linked deaths, 40% is due to bad air quality. So this is a very grave concern, not only in emerging economies but also in United States. And currently, due to the COVID-19, the the chances of deaths have increased. It is the time government showed a sense of accountability on the right to breathe clean air. Tamil Nadu, where 90% of firecrackers are produced, has legitimate concern of economy and job loss and fate of the industry. Producers claim about 2,300 crore worth of output will be lost because they will not be able to sell. A transparent compensation scheme for workers and relief for producers is necessary, especially in the famous region of Sivakasi, which is famous for the firecrackers. Remember Sivakasi. So we saw the NGT's decision, sustainable development versus economics. Then we have seen how the firecrackers are affecting, or how the air pollution is affecting the health. National Clean Air Program to reduce the particulate matter by 20 to 30% by 2024. And what are the further steps need to be taken? How much is the loss and how much compensation can be provided? Continuing with this is the cost of clearing the air. So there was budgetary allocation which was given by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman of 44,400 crores. But budgetary allocation do not reflect the true cost of air pollution. The funds would be used to reduce particulate matter 20 to 30% from 2017 levels by 2024. Just now we have seen this number. So the particulate matter will be reduced by 20 to 30% by 2024 in comparison to 2017 numbers under the National Clean Air Program. So just remember, this can be expected in your exams and you can use it in your essays. The fine print that only half the money was allotted to 15 states in November, the rest will be given in January based on how cities achieve certain performance parameters. Now, is the money 4,400 crore given at once to all the states? Answer is no. Only half was given to 15 states, that too, and the later it will be given after January according to the performance. The problem is we do not know the performance parameters. It is unclear if this amount is adequate to handle the task of air quality. The scale of the problem is unknown. Delhi, after being epitome of pollution for at least 2 decades, has only last 2 years managed to firmly install a extensive network of continuous ambient air quality monitors. Now, what are the problems? we are going to see. First is giving of the money is not an issue. We saw half is given and the other issues with that. But place like Delhi, which has very high pollution, only last 2 years back they have had a ambient air quality monitor, which is a basic thing, and about 37 and which is 37, which is the highest in the country. Second issue is source apportionment studies. So there are no proper monitors to show how much pollution is there. Second is there is no source apportionment studies. Source apportionment studies means from where the air pollution is happening. Is it the stubble, burning of the stubble? Is it vehicles? Is it construction activities, or is it firecrackers? There is no studies like that. Though still contested, has minimum data to determine the degree of pollution that is contributed by its own activity, construction, road dust, vehicle movement, etc. Cities have been allocated NCAP funds and are expected to spend a substantial fraction in the measurement. So just imagine, if you are putting more amount in just measurement, how will we solve the issue? Maharashtra and UP, by virtue of the size, got 400 crores. An analysis by research agencies Carbon Copy and Respirer Living Sciences recently found. Let's see what is the analysis. 59 out of 122 cities had PM 2.5 data available. Just 59 out of 122. Only 3 states, for instance, had all their installed monitors providing readings from 2016 to 18. Only 3 states are showing the reading. Prior to 2016, data aren't publicly available, making comparison reduction incomparable. So before 2016, there was no data. So we do not know, is it increasing or is it reducing. India is still largely reliant on imported machines, though efforts are underway in institutes such as IIT Kanpur. So just remember, there are no proper data available. Monitors are not working properly. There is no previous data from 2016, and focus is on imported goods. So trained man, and this is now just we are talking about monitors and measurement. The main money goes to trained manpower and support system necessarily to effectively maintain the systems. RTI disclosure sourced by research agencies revealed that for 4 cities in Maharashtra, 40 crore had been assigned. Pollution cleanup activities have been assigned 50% of the budget. So just imagine, for pollution cleanup 50% of the budget goes. Another 11 crore are allotted for mechanical street sweepers. But we don't even have the data, so full money is going in making the data. How will we put this money in pollution cleanup activities? The NCR, at least 600 crores was spent by the Ministry of Agriculture over 2 years to provide subsidized equipment to farmers in Punjab and Haryana and dissuade them from burning paddy straw. In the last 2 years, 600 crores was spent. But still, this year, again, there has been farm fires and a lot of pollution, and nothing has changed. So 4,400 crore, is it enough? And the way it is spent, is it enough? While funds are critical, proper enforcement, adequate staff, and stemming the sources of pollution on the ground are vital to the NCAP meeting its target. So what is needed is, funds are there, but just advertising that how much funds you're putting will not work. Enforcement, proper laws and enforcement, staff, and source of pollution needs to be curbed. And last editorial, lessons from Vietnam and Bangladesh. So we have seen on India US relationship, we have seen firecrackers and air pollution, and now lessons from Vietnam and Bangladesh. With reforms promoting innovation and lowering the cost of doing business, India is poised for to attract the best investments. So We are reforming our markets. We are going for innovation. So we are expecting more of investments. But looking at Bangladesh and Vietnam, their trade and investments they have received has increased tremendously. Bangladesh has become the second largest apparel exporter after China. Apparel are the clothes. Vietnam's export have grown to 40% in the past 8 years. Recently, we had seen per capita income of Bangladesh is also increasing. One of the reason is trade. So remember, second largest and Vietnam's 240% increase. What are the positives? What can we learn from them? Number one, Vietnam has open trade policy, less expensive workforce, generous incentives to foreign firms, free trade agreements like with USA, EU, China, Japan, South Korea, India, etc. So less import duties are charged. Domestic market is open to partners' products. So just remember these are the positive points. Open trade policy, workforce, incentives, FTAs, domestic market open to the partners' products. So remember this so that we can use the same thing in India and make India great again by increasing its trade. Foreign firms can compete for local businesses. Another benefit in Vietnam, foreign firms can compete for local businesses like the railway projects, defense, hospital, real estate, electricity, which is not possible in country like ours, India, because it will hurt the local producers, it will hurt the local firms if we allow foreign firms to do all this in India. This model may not be good for India as it offers no protection to the farmers or the local producers from imports. Vietnam, being a single party state, can ignore such things. In Vietnam, the Communist Party is powerful and dominant there, but in India, we have a lot of politics. So these are the positive points of Vietnam, where they were talking more of the open economy. What about Bangladesh? The key learning from Bangladesh is it supports its big, large firms. Large firms are better positioned to invest in brand building, meeting quality requirements, marketing. Small firms begin as suppliers, then later going to the big firms. So they begin as suppliers and later they grow up as big firms. Vietnam has changed domestic rules to meet the needs of the investors. So Vietnam in this case is different. Bangladesh focuses on supporting large firms, whereas Vietnam is open economy policy. But some things we need to focus. The Economic Complexity Index, which ranks a country based on how diversified and complex its manufacture export is, illustrates that the remember the Economic Complexity Index, which shows how diverse the goods are, shows that Vietnam is very poor and Bangladesh is very behind in diversity. They are focusing on small areas only. Whereas country like India, we are ranked 43. We are very diverse with various markets. So can we learn something from this? What will be the consequences? Let's see the consequences. In India, unlike Vietnam, domestic and capital market sectoral industrial zones with pre-approved factory spaces can be made. The quick buildup of exports in Vietnam resulted from large MNC investments, but most of its electronic exports are just final assembly. So, what you have to remember is if we just focus on some areas like how Vietnam and Bangladesh is, it becomes very dangerous because then if those goods don't have demand, our whole economy will collapse. So, we are diversified. So, that is a thing that we need to not follow from Vietnam. But Vietnam has a open market. What we have done is, we have a very strong developed domestic and capital market, our stock exchange, our population, sectoral industrial zones have been made. In case of Vietnam, what they do is focus mostly on final assembly. The goods are produced elsewhere. So that's the difference you must understand. Last year, Vietnam received some statistic, uh, received investments exceeding $16 billion. As a real result, Vietnam's export rose from 83.5 billion to 279 billion dollars. So these are the positives, negatives, how we are different from Vietnam. In case of Bangladesh, large exports of apparels are made, and we have seen Bangladesh is more focusing on large firms, and then the smaller firms are playing support role. And the US makes the most of the country's export story. Bangladesh may not have this facility in 4 to 7 years as its per capita income rises. So from 1888 Bangladesh per capita income, it is increasing. India is 1877. Bangladesh is working smartly to diversify its export basket. India as a good neighbor accept all the Bangladesh products duty free except alcohol and tobacco. So they are very smart and they are selling it to India itself. And we are accepting except alcohol and tobacco, the other products from Bangladesh are duty free. So we are more trading with our competitors. Trade has created wealth and employment and lifted millions above the poverty level in less than 2 decades in Bangladesh. So what India needs to do? Can we go the Vietnam way or the Bangladesh way? The answer is a middle path. Should a country promote trade at the expense of the other sectors? Let's look at the export to GDP ratio. Vietnam EGR is 107%. Such high dependence on export bring dollars, but it is vulnerable to global economic uncertainty. The US's EGR is 11.7%, Japan is 18.5, India is 18.7. So we are on the right path. Even China is 18.4. Export to GDP ratio means we can't completely depend on the exports. India follows an open trade policy. India should follow an open trade policy, sign balanced FTAs, restrict unfair imports, and have a healthy mix of domestic champions and the MNCs. So we can't just focus on exports and leave out the MNCs, and or focus on domestic companies and leave out the MNCs, nor can we just focus on the MNCs and leave out the domestic companies. So we need to balance between the two. While export remains a priority, it is not pursued at the expense of other sectors of the economy. The focus is on organic economic growth. Organic economic growth is that is slowly, steadily using the right methods through innovation and competitiveness. So we have seen four areas. We have seen India-US relationship in connection with Joe Biden. Then we saw on no firecrackers connected with air pollution and National Clean Air Program. And finally, comparison between Bangladesh and Vietnam's growth story versus India, how it should be. Okay, so that's all for the day. Remember, the art and science of asking question is the source of all knowledge. Thank you.